No. I guess I'll have to do it.
All right.
Eggless, flourless, budget brownies.
Okay, we'll bring the meeting back to order again, and we are to the city attorney expenditures. Do we have any questions so far as city attorney expenditures?
Good job.
Over there? Good? None? Okay, we'll go to administrative services expenditures.
Page.
That's pages 61 and 62. Anything on that? I think that was a pretty simple one. And then we'll carry, excuse me?
Can we wait for Mr. Lockhart? I don't know where he went before you go rushing through.
I'm
something.
sorry, we're,
Cooking along.
hey, this train leaves on time.
Yeah.
Thank you. Human resources expenditures, 63, 64,
Yeah,
65.
Yeah, I do want to comment on that. We're,
And to be sure,
Page
we're gonna,
63.
we're gonna do this, Martha,
yes,
look
sir?
at me.
Yes, sir.
We're gonna, instead of just chiming in, we're gonna go ahead and do this and let everybody have a chance to chime in first too.
Sure.
But go right ahead.
Yeah, just page 63 for the part-time employee. Just overall through the whole thing, the whole budget, I see 3 part-time employees, 1 full-time Parks and Rec, and 1 full-time IT. And that's just sort of, and I'm probably, Mr. Lockhart wants to say something about that, but it's just kind of, no offense, guys, employee creep. You know, not that you're creepy, but that we're adding employees here, and I don't know if we can find another way to do that within the government-like philosophy. It's just growing government, and when we saw the cost, what the cost for the retirement fund and all of that, how that's growing, it's just a concern of mine. Thank you.
Okay, and I'd just like to add that, you know, when you have a 3% population increase, you can expect to have a greater demand, and then you can expect to have, as you have population creep, you're going to have a bit of employee creep, I would think.
I understand that.
All right, good. Yes.
Can I also just
Janet.
comment that,
Yes,
that
please.
a lot of times in reading the numbers, it actually makes more sense for us to have these, especially part-time employees, than for us to contract out and pay other companies to do that job. So
Okay.
that's
All right.
just my rebuttal, sorry.
Okay.
That's
Ben,
okay.
Yes, sir.
I apologize. I was talking to somebody else and I should have been here.
That's all right.
I missed
Oh,
what
that's quite
Martha.
all right.
I missed what
No,
Martha.
I don't think you, if there was anything.
5 employees.
If there was anything.
Yeah, I'd like to comment on that.
On what?
I'd like to comment on that.
Okay.
Sometimes there looks like there's a need and not a want. And the one that caught my eye was the employee for Meg's department,
Page 64.
64, thank you.
Page 63.
And I was wondering, and the only question I had was, is that, and it's just an observation, it seems to me that particular department, having looked at it, and this is nothing about she does a great job, no complaints about that, but I have not seen with my eyes or heard of anything of an increase being required in the first 10 years of the city, or the 14 years, and I just wondered how what more another person would maybe I don't know all the things how that department, maybe I should take some time between now and September to evaluate, and maybe I'll get with her and see exactly, have a better feel for it, but I did look at that also.
Okay.
Thank you.
That'd be a good idea
Thank
to, if you have any questions to do that. Okay, now let's go ahead and, any other questions, human resources? If not, we'll go to information technology expenditures. Any questions in that regard? Seeing none, we'll go to communications expenditures,
Page.
which is quite a short one. It's page 70.
And
Okay,
71?
there's a reduction there. Then we will go to emergency preparedness expenditures.
I do have a question.
Yes?
Okay, thank you. In the past, you know, we've looked at some kind of, and maybe this should go under communications, I'm not sure, some kind of alert system. So, well, where are you going to direct people to go to a shelter? But if there's some type of disaster, I know we have the fire department, fire district, We have the sheriff's office. Is there any liability or responsibility on our part, maybe that's a legal question, about alerting the populace?
Yeah, I'll let Audrey address the legal issues, but as a practical matter, almost all of the local jurisdictions now are using a reverse 911 system called Code Red.
Yeah.
And I've got quite a bit of experience with them. We were the first ones to bring that in out at Fort Myers Beach almost 12 years ago now. Code Red, it's a great system for alerting the public about particular things, but the kinds of things that you would normally be sending those kinds of alerts out are not the kinds of things that this city has any direct control over or responsibility for. In other words, for weather emergencies, evacuation notices and everything, obviously we're included under the county's umbrella for their emergency operations responsibilities and functions. Things like amber alerts or silver alerts would be handled through the sheriff's office. Things like boil water notices, which is another function, are handled through Bonita Springs Utilities. We have talked to the county about the rare instances where the city may have a need to tap into the system, and we do have at least an informal agreement with them that based on basically a per minute cost for use of the system, we would have the ability to tap into it. So I'm comfortable that we're covered in that regard.
Thank you. And I like the idea that we're looking after some kind of communications that way. Public safety, that's our thing, right?
Yes.
Just for the record, Audrey Vance, City Attorney. John is correct. The duty to undertake any kind of warning system only occurs when it's a service that we're providing, and that we are providing that emergency service. So, for example, if it's something that public safety handles, the county will handle it. And I do have a memorandum coming to you as to natural issues later on today.
Oh, you're so timely, Madam Attorney.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. I really appreciate it. And I like the idea that we're pursuing something so we can have some kind of interlocal agreement to do that, if need be. You know, you never know.
Any other questions on emergency preparedness?
Thank you.
And if not, we'll go to 74, which is finance expenditures. And it goes from page 74 to 79. Any questions?
74 to 7. Just that weather bug in there. And that's it
Okay.
for me.
Council, any other questions?
Well, we're going to
The weather
pursue.
bug in,
yeah.
in the finance expenses?
I'm sorry. No, thank you. No, thank you. No, I extended my line
So
on
far as
Sorry.
that large number within there, so far as the computer software,
Yes,
that.
sir.
any of
Necessary.
us who've had to buy computer software for a company or something, we know that that's a large expense. I can't believe that you've been operating without that.
Mm-mm.
What do you just kind of have to write with a pencil and
No,
whatever those things are, right?
We
An abacus, yeah.
we do workarounds. We actually, y'all probably wouldn't be interested in the detail, but we've set it up so that the other softwares work as subsidiary ledgers. So we utilize their data instead of having their data in our system. We've done the best we can, and we've been talking to the city manager about this for the last couple of fiscal years. The economic times, it was just so hard when we were struggling to pay our operating expenses to add it. We knew it was going to be a significant cost. So to add something of that, volume, financially speaking, such a significant purchase in when we were struggling to do all the other things. So we did push it off maybe a year or so longer than we should, but we were preparing for it, and we've been planning for it. We've been planning for it for a good year, so we think we have our timing down. We just need a little bit more resources to be able to have a little flexible and get it taken care of for everyone.
Good, it's a big number, but I can't imagine how much better. I mean, you guys do a great job with the data already. I mean, I can't imagine how much easier and how much time you're going to save being able to transfer data and all the reams of papers and reports you're going to be able to print for Bill. Unbelievable.
We do most of those. We do most of those paperless now. As y'all know, when a request comes, we try our hardest to give it to you in electronic format, and then we give hard copies when necessary, because some people do like to study them. We still keep a hard copy.
Question.
Okay, any other finance expenditures questions?
I have one question, if I may.
Yes, ma'am.
This is excellent. I'm really glad that this is coming forward, willing to pay for it. Did you say you're going to have a part-time assistant or a part-time person in finance? Is that, or did you ask
In
for that?
finance, yes, ma'am. What we're actually asking to do is, it's not an increase in total cost. We're asking to have a reallocation of hours that are currently being performed from overtime from our current full-time staff into part-time hours. So this is going to allow right now our full-time staff have to work overtime to accomplish what we have to do. We have certain deadlines, budget time, audit time, we have certain amounts of overtime, which are fairly significant. Well, we can't have our existing full-time staff doing overtime for the regular work and then doing overtime for implementation
Yeah,
of
it costs money.
software.
Good.
It's just, there's not enough man hours. And we looked at possibly outsourcing some of this, but for good accountants to outsource, it's quite expensive. So
Yes.
this would be the part-time staff. We're looking to try to get someone at a very entry level. Maybe we're hoping maybe like an accounting student or someone of that nature that would be willing to work part-time, want to learn a little bit more about hands-on about accounting and do some of our daily functions that have to be done, because we're going to have to run 2 software systems parallel for at least 2 to 3 months to make sure you have to do that with any new financial software.
Oh, it'll
just
be
to-
longer than that.
It'll be,
Yeah. Well, the
it's
legal.
going to be very time-consuming, and we really need that.
Okay,
The
thank you very
legal,
much.
the legal department and the, now the communications department has been successful in getting interns. Is that something that
Yeah, I don't think you
accounting interns don't want to be interns? They realize the value of a dollar or something?
Well,
or-
we would need something a little more permanent. We need it for over a 2-year period,
Yeah.
and we need it for so many hours of time, so
I
I
think
don't
this is
think
something
that-
you want to pay
An
somebody to do.
intern's usually just when they have a break from class, maybe a summer intern when they're off from school, or if they take another semester off, that's usually how that's
Okay.
utilized.
Well,
Good.
thank you. And do you suspect how many man hours or woman hours, because mostly women in that office department, how many hours you're going to save through this new software?
We don't have that yet because we don't know everything that, we do know it's going to save some, but how many will remain to be seen, because all we have right now is the historical data of how many hours it's taking us now. So
Thank you.
as we go through this, we're going to show you guys how efficient we can get to be with this new software.
I know you like to be efficient over there.
Yes, ma'am,
You
we
do a
sure
great
do.
job. Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Mayor, may I?
Yes, you may.
Thank moving the overtime hours to this part-time position is really more cost-effective than we're operating
Yes,
right now,
yes, sir.
correct?
It's about a 60% reduction in cost per hour.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Very cost efficient.
All right, now we're going to go to Parks and Recreation expenditures, which goes from page 80 to page 8010. For you, Nicole. Any questions? And on this one, I'm going to start down there at Councilman McIntosh. Do you have any questions when it comes to the Parks and Recreation budget?
I have one, but I was going to hold it to the end
Okay,
because
all
I
right.
didn't put it in
That's right.
ahead of time. Is that,
Yep, Janet, you have
No,
anything?
I'm good. Thank
Steve?
you.
well,
I am good.
Good. Martha, what do you have for us?
Does this go to, yeah,
This is Parks and Recreation expenditures.
yep.
Have at it.
Got 4 items.
All right?
Okay, Spring Creek, no use. We've invested a lot of money over there over the years. I think it was $5,000 a year. Multiply that by 60-something thousand dollars. And I understand it's not getting used because of the school board policy. Is that basically it? We haven't been able to get them to budge?
Correct. We haven't used it because we do have to hire security if anyone does use the fields, and it is only for youth. They do not allow the adult leagues to use them. They actually approached us and wanted out of this agreement. I did look at the cost that we have put in. It has been about $30-something thousand that we did spend about 5 or 6 years ago. We haven't been putting any money into it recently within the last 3 years, just minimal amounts, but we kind of saw it as best for both of us to get out of that one.
Yeah, that's a shame because the taxpayers paid for that field. And the policy is just too restrictive, in my
Right,
opinion.
right.
but
So we
what can
just
you do?
couldn't use it.
99. Okay, page 99. Beach parks. Yeah.
Parks?
Oh, yeah, the beach parks. Our beach parks up on the beach.
Yes.
A lot of people don't know about those beach parks. Bay Park, Beach Park up near the bridge on Hickory.
Yes.
I don't know how the signage is there. There was some discussion by Councilman McCourt at one point about making it for Bonita residents only or some kind of thing like that, and fences and is there a way that we can make that more visible for Bonita residents? Or?
We could change out the signage and make it more visible in terms of making it just for Bonita residents. We don't have the staff to be there to figure out who is where when.
Yeah, I understand. I know that, but it might be helpful. And while we're talking beach parks, I don't know if it's possible to readdress with the county the beach passes. A lot of people have said that to me now that we have a new Parks and Rec director there, that it might be possible, and also because we have a new commissioners and one commissioner whose beach is also afforded a rather significant cost for their residents on Fort Myers Beach.
Yes.
It might be worth approaching them again about this beach pass thing.
Well,
I don't
why
know.
don't we, I think that we're talking about a beach, kind of a parks master plan, more of a
Yes.
type of thing.
Right.
This is so far as budgetary expenses, let's try to keep towards that, okay?
Yeah,
Well-
at this point, I have spoken with Commissioner Kiker and others at the county about, during our strategic planning, it was requested of me to see what the cost would be for the city to take over those beaches, accesses, and I have been working with the county on doing that at this point. They are not willing to
Give it up.
give us our beach passes back. That's not going to happen. So the only thing we can do is take over the beaches on our own, which is in our interlocal agreement that we will do so, and that they would give them up, but it is a
Yeah.
little struggle.
They get about $300,000 a year out of TDC funding for operating those parks, so I mean, that would have to go with the agreement,
Yes.
you know, but I know that a lot of our residents are
Again,
now.
I think we're going down the road
Yeah.
of some other type
Yeah.
of planning here. We really
Well-
need to keep this towards the budget item. This is a larger,
Okay, well, as far as beach parks go, I'd like to see us put more emphasis on our beach park. Okay.
okay?
And then soccer coordinator. I've just had it expressed to me that the soccer coordinator is not coordinating.
Well, he is actually not even employed by the YMCA at this point. So we have not been paying. So what we
Good.
are doing is later this summer, most likely in August, we'll be meeting with the YMCA to see if it's something we'll even decide to continue.
Good for you. Okay. Lightner Creek Park, page 124. Okay. Why?
We do have to have insurance on this park because it is a city park. So that is the major increase in funding, is adding the insurance. Others, based on the negotiations that we had with the Cafe of Life group, some of the maintenance will be taken care of by the city. So that's why we did have to put some dollars in there for some maintenance of the facility.
Yeah, I basically understood, and maybe I misread that agreement with Lightner Creek Neighborhood Park, was that all the costs associated with Lightner Creek Neighborhood Park, page 124, Councilwoman, were going to be absorbed by Cafe of Life. And when I saw that there was money allocated there, I was like, hey, what's with that?
The majority of the costs will be on them, but there are some minimal, most likely vandalism that they asked that we could help out with. So that's the $1,500. The $4,900 that's in there is us to have insurance on the facility because it is a city facility.
They're having vandalism over there?
We have vandalism in all parks.
Okay.
So it's $1,500. Okay,
Yep.
any other questions?
Let's move on.
It's actually like 7,000.
I'm trying to differentiate the maintenance cost from the
Yeah.
$4,900, which is insurance.
Yes.
Right.
Okay? All right, any other questions for Nicole?
I have
Okay,
a
thank you.
question.
Yeah, yes, sir.
This has to do with money. How much vandalism do we have? Do we get a report on that on a systematic basis? Because I've never seen one.
We don't have a report on systematic basis. What we do is when we have it, we fix it. Our maintenance staff goes in and fixes it. The biggest issue of vandalism happens in Riverside Park. Most of the time, it's minimal, so we don't turn it into our insurance because it just wouldn't be cost effective to do so.
Well, on an annual basis, could you please let the council know, because something like that has to be dealt with, and it's not on your area, but it's with the security issue, and the only way to deal with that is to work through the sheriff's department, and who will help us.
Sure.
Voice.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Sorry to get off track, Ben.
That's right. That's all right. Good. If that's all, oh, hey, go ahead, Pete. Forgot about you.
Hi, Pete.
Over there by highlighting that there is vandalism, would we get more or would we just fix the vandalism if possible.
Peter, let me try to ask that question for you, because this is why, I mean, I got stopped in the grocery store, as I often do. Yeah, I shop, okay? But what happens, the reason we've been so successful in the city of Bonita Springs so far as graffiti and vandalism and stuff is because we made a conscious decision a long time ago that when these things happen, we're not going to talk about it, we're not going to publicize it, we're just going to fix it immediately. So if somebody wants to try to put graffiti up, we're going to run them out of paint. We're going to make it miserable for them. And so the less we have this conversation, the more people. I got a comment from a guy, and he came up to me, and I thought it was a complaint. He goes, "Hey, tell me, how come there's no graffiti anymore?" I go, "Do you miss it?" And he goes, "No, what happened to it?" I'm like, and that's the reason it was.
Yeah.
And we actually got cooperation from the newspapers as well, because they used to like to make a story about putting the pictures of it in there, and we told them, please don't do that, because that's what they want you to do. So the less we say about that, and the more that we let staff take care of it, better off we are, Pete.
Excellent, excellent.
Thank you very much. Any other questions for Nicole? Okay, thank you, Nicole. Non-departmental expenditures, here we are. Oh, wait, I'm sorry, boards and committees expenditures. Any questions there? Anything? Okay. And Carl, that's a newly created one, and you decide, I think that's a good idea that you
It's
put
just
all
to
this
group them all together rather than have a line item show up in a variety of different
I
places.
think that's a really good idea. And non-departmental expenditures, anybody have anything for there?
I do.
Okay, Martha, go ahead.
This is really Councilman McIntosh's baby, but the first item on sustainability/energy initiative, why so little?
Well, who set the number? Does anybody want to chime in there, Carl? $10,000, that's what's set there?
Well, I think that, and John, help me out here, the council gave us direction after our sustainability workshop to be preparing for this point system evaluation that we would have to go through. So in terms of applying for that, getting things in position for that evaluation so we can determine how good we are, that is what that money's for. That money is not for spending money on fixtures that are going to use less water, something like this. This is for the sustainability effort
Not
itself.
for capital expenditures.
It's not
it's
for
the
capital
planning part of
expenditures.
it, and it's for the
Correct.
meetings and whatnot.
That's my
correct.
understanding. John, is that
Correct?
That's correct. The sustainability folks have looked at a way to make sure we have correct measures of sustainability, and that's what that amount of money is for. It's the next step.
I understand, but there are small steps that I asked about 3 years ago, and they were simple, like putting, what do you call the lights? Sensor lights in certain rooms, or even in our employees' rooms, so they go off and on. The toilets.
But it has nothing to do with this number. This isn't a hardware number. This is a software number.
Right. So do we have anything on the software, hard water number, or whatever we want to call it? Because you could be saving, we could have saved that $5,000 or $10,000 by now already if we'd put these into place like 3 years ago. I know we want to measure them and that kind of thing, but there are simple little infrastructure improvements that we could make that could save us a
If
lot
I
of
can
money.
address that?
John, go ahead.
We have, over the past years, for example, here in this building, made adjustments to our operations with regard to lighting, water use, irrigation, that we were tracking and showed significant decreases in our operational costs. But that's where you would find those hard dollars is in each of the facilities. What we're hoping is that through this planned effort, we can develop strategies, and then recommendations would come from that group that would then be translated into future budgets. But the actual dollars for those capital improvements would probably show up in the different facilities rather than here.
Yeah, I had somebody, and I know we all have, at one point or another, FPL came through and did an energy audit, like probably about 5 times, because every time somebody got on council, somebody had that done. I also had some solar energy companies and LED lighting companies go around and make evaluations that way. There are a lot of things that are not too expensive that we could be doing in our most energy drawing areas, like the pool, solar heat at the pool would make a big difference, and the water
But
heaters.
that's part of the sustainability
Yes, I
study
know,
that
but
you'd
what
be
I'm
doing,
saying
right?
is that if we had implemented these several years ago and maybe start implementing at least one of them this year, then we would be able to save money for reports like this. We would have
Okay.
saved this money
Okay,
already.
but we didn't.
And I
Okay,
just
so-
want to remind council too,
Wow.
that it's not that we're not doing anything here. I mean, just this last fiscal year, we installed a chlorinator, a salt chlorinator at the pool,
Right.
which saved us all kinds of money on supplies,
Sure.
and it's just a lot more efficient. And the council authorized that in a prior budget, and, so we do take steps here and there. We do believe the study that's being done with regards to the evaluation of sustainability in the city of Bonita Springs, with regards to our facilities, will provide us a roadmap of what we can get the biggest bang for the buck for and the best return on our dollars. But again, it's a strategy that we're approaching in a methodical way.
We do have one item in the budget this year at the pool, the variable frequency drive.
Tell me about that, yeah.
What it does is it actually, currently the pump just runs all the time. What it will do is it will kick on and off based on actual need to have the pump running. So it is part of the sustainability project that it will help with cost saving.
Good, I'd like to hear about that. Thanks very much for letting me know and bringing
Mayor.
that up.
Okay, Steve?
Just try to finalize this. The sustainability strategy that we put in place was part of the logic of putting the landscaping together. So it's not like sustainability is sitting off by itself. It's a broad look at how you make things work in the city.
Yeah, I just like to save energy, carbon credits, and things like that.
Okay, council, if it's okay, that does it for those pages.
Special
And
review.
before we go into additional items and that type of stuff, why don't we, do you want to take a look at the capital improvements projects here? Does anybody have any comment? Yes?
Yes. Mr. Mayor, if you will, there's one more area that it's operating in nature on page 138, the new special revenue fund for the building fees. I apologize, we didn't touch on this before. We were trying to get through the presentation as quickly as possible. This actually includes, you'll see the footnotes down there at the bottom, this includes a request for a 1.8% increase in the base contract, consistent with what we talked about in planning. The same contractor provides the planning services and the building services. So this would be the same percentage of increase for both of those contracts. And as well, they're asking for 2 additional staff members for the building department across the street. That's because we had talked about the revenue, the increase in activity. Obviously, when they have more permits being pulled, more activity, it's going to require more man hours, more staff to be able to do those. And those are fully funded by the services collected, the revenues collected over there. Florida statutes allows us to collect a sufficient revenue in order to provide for the actual costs that are over there. So those are fully funded. The increase in activity, increase in revenue collections will fund these 2 new positions. But we did want to highlight that to you before we move to capital projects, sir.
Good, good. Any questions about that before we move on?
Good.
Yes? Okay, good. Capital projects, everybody's favorite.
Can we talk about debt fund service for a sec? Just a sec?
Debt fund service, everybody's favorite.
Oh, that's a big favorite. And, we're down to 18 million on our bond, which is awesome. I think that's what I read. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am?
And we refinance that. Awesome. This is more of a, maybe as we look out to the future. I read in the note here that we are limited in the amount of debt, legal debt limit is $780 million.
Yes, ma'am.
780 million, and we're at 18 million.
Yes, ma'am. That's as reflected in our city charter.
Yeah. That's amazing, for one thing. But, I see as we're going to take on some, maybe if we get a CRA or TIF light, whichever, we're going to take on some more debt that way. I haven't thought this way for a long time about our debt service. But when we're competing with other communities around here, actually, and seeing that the number is $780 million, I'm going to change a position I held for a long time about debt. And then I think we should make some significant infrastructure improvements around here and be that, shining city, which we all strive to be, which we already are, but make it Bonita even better and take on more debt by doing some real significant, maybe, looking at partnering on the library, because I bet you if we came up front and we said, we'll share this expense instead of paying it over the years. If we, the city hall, we're gonna definitely need to do that someday. Whatever we're doing downtown, and looking at how we pay for that debt. When looking at the road projects and our impact fees, it's $23 million that we're looking even for Bonita Beach Road Phase 3. So I guess we're going to move on to capital projects soon. But, I've been thinking about the only way that we calculate transportation trips is by road use, by car usage, and not by any kind of intermodal, buses or whatever. But with $23 million, I think we should take out some more debt, buy some circulators, and just run our own little in-town circulator service to go to those businesses that we're giving incentives to, make them buy into it a little bit, every month they can pay a certain fee or something to have it brought to their business. Naples did this many years ago through the private sector, and it was extremely effective. It was before CAT got more expensive, their transportation system. And then
Martha, I have to.
It's about debt service.
There's master planning, and
I know that.
and there's looking at our existing budget. If you have a proposal in particular for this existing budget,
yeah, I think
because if we all wanted to talk about our favorite things about what we wish the city would have and everything, this would be a long day. So I'm going to ask you to please confine your.
Well, it's my
comments
last
to the-
budget hearing. I won't inflict any more damage on you from years to come. So, but as far as the paying for this debt service, we're getting this from ad valorem. That's how we pay for this. Is that correct?
We pay 15% of the existing debt service, from our general operating fund. And
Right.
75% is from our road restricted funds.
From our impact fees?
Impact fees, this year, 100%
Okay,
from impact
well, that's
fees.
where I'm getting to, Mayor. Okay, so from our road impact fees, it's costing us a lot of money for roads, right? 23 million is projected just for the beach road, 48 million over the next 10 years. If we're looking at paying off significant debt, if we do take on downtown or whatever, and this debt service fund increases, I think we should look at transportation. I know, Mayor, I'm testing you, I'm sorry. In a significant way, because impact fees, as we build out, won't be coming in to pay for that other 85% towards our debt service. So we're going to have to start thinking in a different way about what kind of impact, we rely heavily on impact fees. And when it gets to build out, which might be in 10 years, but if you take out a bond for 20 or 30, like we're talking with TIF, you can't pay your debt service back. So I'm saying we think in different ways of how we work.
Okay, good.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Okay, anything else on debt service? If not, we'll go to capital improvement plan. And is there any questions regarding that? And just a real overview, it's a pretty simple because you can see in the highlighted area or the darkened areas what the plans are for that, and they're coded. Does anybody have anything on there that gives them any particular heartburn at this particular time?
No heartburn.
These are all projects that we have looked at in our master plan and that are anticipated for the most part. Okay?
Yep.
Okay, if not, I think that what you want to do is you want to go over, staff, you want to go over the other information. Do you not? Carl?
Sir, this list, and you've dealt with this a couple of years prior to this as well, is basically those items that individual council members have come forward with that are not currently in the budget, but certainly merit the council's consideration as to whether or not it belongs in the budget or not. So, Mr. Mayor, I guess Lisa, first off, is probably going to handle the revenue side of it and talk about that a little bit. With regards to the council member items, we would just ask, Mayor, if you go down one by one.
Okay.
Council can discuss it, make a decision, it's in, it's out, whatever you want to do
Gotcha.
after that. But I think, Lisa, if you want to chat about the revenue side.
Lisa?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. The two items that we have there, the first of which is the millage rate. Wanted to just let you all know, obviously it's on the agenda. We will be, at the end of this meeting, setting our preliminary proposed, millage rate. That will be the rate that will appear on the trim truth in millage statements that the property appraiser mails out to each homeowner, each taxpayer within the city. We will be adopting that at the end of the meeting. And the second point is with respect to the state revenue estimates. We like to take this opportunity. I mentioned it earlier. We were talking about the 5-year plan. The state holds a quarterly estimating conference. They have not yet finalized their revenue estimates that they provide all the municipalities and the county. We just like to remind you all that you may see those numbers. We list the numbers there. They may be changing between this draft and the next draft. And that's all I would like to say, sir.
Yes, Carl.
Okay, just following up on the millage rate, I just want to be clear to the council and to the public that the tentative millage rate that you adopt today cannot be increased beyond today. Whatever that rate is, it will not be able to be increased. All right, you can adopt that rate or some lesser rate upon final consideration. So just so you're aware of that.
Or
Good.
higher,
Good, thank you very much.
or higher.
Yes, okay, now we're gonna go to council member items. We'll just go take these one at a time here. Now, if we could take a broad brush view at this, because we are gonna have a chance to look at the results as we give the our staff information. When they bring it back to us next time, we can see the results of that, and we can add things, bring them back in, take things back out. We've got a little bit of work to do here, but I think over and all, that is a really good job on our budget here. Let's take the first one, landscaping. Council, just as a general question, are you satisfied with the amount that has been put in there, or would you like to, it says over the next 10 years, 1.8 million, approximately 1.8 million has been placed in the budget. And explain that to me, Carl. And it says an additional $1 million has been allocated in the budget at a glance.
Yes, on page 24, I had mentioned to you allocations of the reserve funds. I will tell you that on your capital improvement plan, I don't know what the number is this year. Lisa?
300,000 in this fiscal year.
All right, so right now, in the CIP is $300,000 for the coming year to be spent on landscaping. Because we were hearing multiple council members come to us and say, geez, we need to dress up, we did allocate as much as $1 million in those reserves, should you wish to spend $1.3 million instead of $300,000. That number can go up, it can go down. It depends on what degree you want to handle the landscaping issue. I will also share with you, and I know you're trying to stay high level here, Mayor, but the
right.
Staff has a considerable presentation on landscaping today, should the council wish to see it.
I'd move to see that.
I vote to see that.
Okay, you'd like to,
Good luck with that, sir.
would you,
He's awake.
okay, excellent. Would you all like to see that before you make this decision?
Yes,
right here?
please.
Okay, so let's go on to the next one. The next one is school resource officers. And Carl, you say we don't know what the status of this is going to be or who's going to pay for it. Yes, John?
We've been monitoring the talks that are going on between the sheriff's office and the Lee County Board of County Commissioners. Obviously, this is something, and the school board. Obviously, this is something that is very important to a great many people, but has not been resolved yet. We have quantified what the cost would be internally should you decide to do something independently, but at this point, we probably recommend not doing that until the issue is resolved on a countywide basis.
I would tend to concur. Council, is that your read on this as well? Would you like to?
I agree
Yeah.
with that.
Okay.
I agree with that.
All right, good.
And the cost used to be $45,000 a year that we used to pay.
Yeah, it's getting a little more
Yeah.
expensive.
Well, again,
Right.
the $85,000 that we've cited here is anticipating the entire cost, although in the past,
It's been a
we don't
split.
want to commit to that. In the past, that had been split with the school districts, but we don't know if that's going to be the case.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, number 5 is FPL transmission lines, bike pedestrian. There's $1 million budgeted for that. What is that? Someone?
An
Oh, hey.
NPO thing.
Hey. What this was proposed quite a few years ago by Councilman Spear at putting a bike path between Terry and Bonita Beach Road under the power line. So it would connect Bonita Beach Road to the Marnie Fields, because most people do travel there by bike instead of by driving. So we have looked at this. Currently, there is $1 million placed in this. It is going to be a fairly pricey budget because we do have to go through the Army Corps of Engineers, building bridges over waterways. I have looked at some alternatives as well, at possibly widening and making multi-purpose paths along the entire length of Terry from the bridge going over 75 all the way to 41. That multi-use plan will go from the sidewalks now currently are about 6 feet to about 10, and they can be used for bikes, walking, and everything. So there are some other alternatives. If we choose to do something different, we can, or we can stick to the original plan of going from Terry to Bonita Beach Road.
Okay, any comments about this? Yes, Martha?
Well, she's the bike person.
Janet?
Right. I'd like to, the committee just formed. They just
Yes.
had a couple of meetings. They just started talking about this. They're very supportive, obviously, of any kind of safe ways to get people to be able to either walk or motor on their bikes through the community. So I don't think they have had a chance to digest any of the alternatives.
They have not.
So I would love to see this stay moving forward, and then we'll see what the alternatives could be and get their recommendation.
But so far as putting $1 million towards it, are you wanting to put that on hold?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I would.
okay, good.
If we ends up that that's the way they want to go, then I'd like to see, I mean, obviously Councilman Spear felt very strongly about this. I'd love to support and see this
Yeah.
go, but also let's see what those alternatives could be.
Mayor?
And I have to tell you, from my own perspective, when I think about areas that are really dangerous places that people already ride their bicycles, the power line's not one of them. I mean, it just isn't. I understand the concept. I think it's a really cool idea. I think it's something that we'll need to do someday. But in the order of priority of things about when we're going to compete out there in the market, when we want to become a quality community, we have so many roads, including Old 41 to the south of here, that have no bike path and that people ride towards, and there are residences down there and the whole works. Plus the landscaping thing. I think that really, I bang for our buck, return for our dollar. Those are the things that are going to make this community money. Those are the things that are going to make quality of life better in Bonita Springs. So I'd rather concentrate on that. That's my own personal
Yeah.
opinion.
May I ask a question? That we did a $20,000 study for the bike path. Wasn't that south of Bonita Beach Road hooking up to Collier County's bike path?
I think that's what they were talking
Yeah,
about
'cause
at that
that's where
time,
I
is
would
this
be
eventually
interested.
This would be an inter-county type thing.
the
That's
original-
actually going to be built already. I have met with Collier County along Vanderbilt. They are putting all the money towards that. And so that is going to be built. There's $1.8 million that they have for that.
Yeah, I'd just like to see us connect to that first, instead of having a piece not connecting to another piece and not knowing how long to get there. And also, I think this piece was part of MPO's recommendation, too. They might, who knows, you might be able to find something from the county on that one.
Yeah, the MPO had considered it at one time. It's been a long time since we regionally have talked about
Yep.
that,
Yeah.
spoken about that. Doesn't even rise
I
to
think
it.
it's a
Okay,
great
so,
idea.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. So for clarification, remove the $1 million for now and put that in abeyance until we bring back these alternatives.
Before the day is over, we may use that.
Understood.
Okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Landscaping.
Let's go ahead and move along at this time to number 6,
Yeah.
continued bench installation. How do you all feel about that?
Yes?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, cool. West Terry bike lane improvements from
Yes.
Bonita Middle School to East Old 41.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, yes,
Very
John.
much
John?
needed.
Can I offer some comments on that? We, in the past, had a pretty extensive redevelopment plan for West Terry. In recent years, you've directed us to kind of back off on that plan, excuse me, and to make some adjustments to pedestrian traffic in that area where we can. We're continuing, we've done some of that, obviously, and we're continuing to make some adjustments. We did the latest adjustment with the traffic circulation at West Terry and Old 41. In the upcoming budget, we've got some money planned for the Pine and West Terry intersection, the turn. My concern is that if we look at the possibility of improving bike traffic along this particular area, that we might be back into the same situation that we were before, where additional right-of-way would be required, and we're almost rebuilding components of the larger project that you had indicated you wanted us to back off on. So, not that we can't do it or won't do it, but I just wanted to put that in the context of the previous conversations we've had with council. Again, we do have some additional improvements projected for this year.
Right.
And I guess my recommendation would be that, depending on the level of support for this and funding for this that we get from council today, is that you allow us at least first to do the improvements that we want to make and see how that impacts the overall functioning. I understand, obviously, that bike traffic is different than vehicle traffic and car traffic, rather, and pedestrian traffic that we've worked on. But I do have the concern about right-of-way requirements and costs involved.
Good. Janet?
Just wanted to inform Steph, this is a section of Old 41 that, not Old 40, I'm sorry, West Terry Street, that the bike committee did address
Yes.
immediately. This was like their first priority, was that the bike lane heading east
Yep.
from the west boundary of the middle school heading to Old 41 on the south side of West Terry Street has deteriorated so badly that when you've got these large numbers of bicyclists coming down towards Old 41, they're moving into the lane of traffic because that shoulder is just crumbling. So this is what they're looking to repair, is just that section, because we do want to get people a safe way to be able to ride their bikes downtown too. And that part is just not working.
This was also why I looked at doing alternatives to the FPL bike path, because we did have such a need on Terry, and that was our very first meeting when we're trying to get to know each other in the bike committee. It was, how are we going to fix West Terry? So this is the highest priority of the group, and we did have residents in our first meeting saying that this was an issue.
Why don't we do this, Council, if we could, until the next budget meeting? John, could you, if there are interim improvements that we can make to that bike path and to the safety of that area without interfering with what the future plan might be, that maybe that's what we should budget, something that we can do to make it safe in the interim, because we know that there's going to be a larger, considerably larger plan there when it comes to that area all the way through there. So if we could put a budget number in there for some interim improvements, whatever that might be.
No, I appreciate the clarification. This sounds, from what I'm gathering, is more like a maintenance repair situation rather than building new infrastructure for
plus
the
if there can
traffic.
be a widening of the shoulder, you find out you have another 2 feet of right of way and you can widen the shoulder when you make the repair.
Between now and the
All
budget
kinds of
hearings, we can certainly take a look at that and bring you back costs.
That sounds good. Thank you very much. Is that good?
That's great, and Mayor, I don't know, I know we just finished Pine Avenue, and that's where some of the crumbling is going on at the intersection at Pine Avenue. I know we just had the contractors out there paving that section. That's collapsing in. I don't know if we can just get our Public Works guys out on that one. And we own that big lot right between Riverside and the train tracks. So we have real opportunity there.
Okay.
take a look
So
at it.
you're going to take a look at it? Okay. And bring back number. Thank you very much.
Let's hold 8 till after the landscaping.
Hold 8 until after the landscaping. Good. Okay. Number 9, the crosswalk on Old 41 at Bonita Drive. Traffic coming and
Yes,
crosswalk.
yes.
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 Yes. You want to keep that in there. Okay.
Is that a community development block grant fund thing that we could do?
It could, John. Could it not?
I believe it's an eligible project, and I'm pretty sure it's in the eligible area, but we'll take a look at that, but that could be grant funded.
Thank
That'd
you
be
very much.
awesome.
Okay, number 10, Bonita Middle School trees. There's a proposal to
Yes.
replant
Yes.
the trees. That's a yes.
Absolutely.
Well, can I talk about that? Because I'm all for planting trees, but there's no irrigation there. So we did a beautiful job planting. Are they going to plan to put some irrigation in there or what?
Nicole.
That isn't our property. It is the middle school's, but that is the biggest issue, is there isn't irrigation. So when they were put in, they did use the bags of water to do it, but it just didn't work. So if you are wanting to replant some of those trees, you would need to look at irrigation, or they're just going to die.
And I think that probably what we could do is put this in there, but whatever we do is gonna have to be contingent upon them being willing to bring that irrigation system
Right.
over there and to be able to provide irrigation for it. I think that's a fair
Well,
exchange.
excuse me, Mayor, it also fits with the landscaping plan that's of sustainability that I think you're going to see when that presentation's made.
Okay.
And Mayor, while I have Nicole here, the trees out in front of the pool, I mean, if we're going to put money into a place, do we have irrigation around the pool?
No, those are the trees that are in front of the pool are also the ones that were planted by the middle school. The pool would be very happy if they were no longer there
Yeah, I
because
understand.
when they do flower, all of that blows into the pool. So it is causing some issues for the folks at the pool. So yes, I would think if we are looking at replanting them, we would replant all of them, including the ones in front of the pool.
Yeah, I would too, because half the year they look dead.
But we
So-
don't have irrigation there.
I understand. Well, I'd be more than, you got a lot of water over there. I'd be more than willing to
Salt water.
Well, that wouldn't be good for plants, but to our landscape, when we get to that, make sure we landscape around our very nice, beautiful pool.
Okay, so we'll leave that $20,000 in there. Is that true? And we can talk about
Where?
the details of it when we make the deal with the Bonita Middle. Additional bus shelters, that's just mentioned.
Yes.
Proposed budget includes $19,000. Want to leave that in there?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I got to tell you, those things are being well used.
Yes, they are.
It's amazing.
And they look
Uh,
great,
Yeah,
council.
and they do.
Yes, they do.
Number 12, turn lane on Pine Avenue on West Terry. Here we go, on West Terry Street.
Yes.
You got $210 budgeted, the CIP. John, West Terry Street, turn lane on Pine Avenue. That's what you had mentioned before, right?
Already in the budget.
Already in budget. Good. Leave it in there.
Yes.
All right. Pond maintenance. $100,000 has been allocated in future years. Pond maintenance. What is that? Does that mean in retention areas, or is that what does that mean? Everybody's ponds.
It can mean a variety of things, and as Carl indicated early on, when we mapped out some of these things and budgeted at a glance, these were dollars that staff has set aside but not allocated in the current fiscal year that we're talking about, the
Right.
13-14 year, could be in future years. We have had discussions about pond maintenance in the past, and council has approved a protocol that we've developed in terms of trying to at least determine initially if it's a project that the city council should be involved in at all. My concern here is that as we go forward with these kind of issues, and this is somewhat related to the next item on the FDOT pond, again, they're somewhat related issues as to whether or not the intention is to still stick with or at least attempt to stick with the protocol that we've outlined, in which the threshold question would be to determine whether or not there is another responsible party before the city actively takes a role in committing resources and dollars to any potential fix. Our recommendation, obviously, would be to allow us to follow those protocols so that if there are other responsible parties, we can at least make an attempt to get them involved in the solutions to the problems first.
Okay, I mean, and I'll come back to you. And the problem I have with this is because of that. I'd like to follow that protocol. If there are other people who are supposed to be responsible for it, they should be taking care of it, if at all possible. And then, on the other hand, without having a specific project to put it on, or even having an idea, $100,000 just kind of sounds like, well, we'll put that in there just in case. I mean,
Well,
I'd
again-
rather have something that kind of identified the scope of the problem.
Understood.
So that we could know over how many years we could take care of it, or how many, or if there was a problem at all.
But again, understand that the $100,000 that we're referencing here is only shows up in the budget at a glance, which would be for out years, not in this current budget. So unless we're hearing different from the council today, we're going to continue, I guess, without budgeting pond maintenance dollars in this upcoming, other than obviously the ones that we're responsible for and have in the budget already.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, if I
Okay.
might,
Yeah,
if I
I'm
might
going to
add.
Carl, then I'll come right to you, Martha.
The,
Fair.
so the $100,000 was another one of those reserves allocations, those placeholders. And if the council wants to put that into the budget this year, we can do that from those funds. This is really in those circumstances that we have yet to hit where we determine that the city has some responsibility, even if it's just shared responsibility, to clean up some of these particular ponds. So do we know that there's $100,000 of work out there? No, we don't. Again, it's just money to be there in case we end up being responsible for at least some of it.
Okay, Martha.
Okay. Well, this isn't pertaining to the next item. I didn't know that the next item was going to be on there, nor did I know that this one was going to be on there. But I would like to ask, because I thought that there was going to be $100,000 to follow up with the pond maintenance criteria policy. We know we do in town have ponds that were created many years ago under previous non-zoning eras in which need maintenance, in which we do, I believe, share a part responsibility because they take in drainage from public roads. Specifically, if I want to be specific, I would say Imperial Harbor is a wreck, and it goes into Spring Creek. I have been trying to gather monies for this for 7 years from any source possible. I haven't come to council to ask for it. I've tried it other ways. And it's been very difficult. You know, we got it past the legislature twice, and then we changed strategies this year, so it just went to Oak Creek. And we did get that money then. But just please, these ponds over there are a water quality nightmare. And I would like to ask that we get $100,000 for Imperial Harbor ponds. I've been just trying every other way, and instead of having to come to you.
Okay, Carl.
Just as an addition to that, Imperial Harbor is a challenge. We've just gone through and did a complete study on all the ownership, and some of the owners actually over there had said, well, we don't know who owns 2 of these lakes. And when we did the study, in fact, 2 of the lakes in Imperial Harbor, there is no recorded ownership. We don't know who's responsible. And so, but now the rest of it, we could identify owners other than the city that may have to be responsible for a portion of that. But there are 2 lakes, at least in Imperial Harbor, where there is no recorded ownership.
Let me ask this.
Yes, sir.
Let's say that tomorrow afternoon you find out, geez, that's the city's responsibility completely. How long before you could pull the trigger and actually go out there and do something permitting? I mean, there's some work that has to be done. Is this something that needs to be budgeted in this year, or should it be budgeted as you have it allocated for future years? Shot in the dark.
How long would it take? I don't know. It depends on what work would have to be required to be done. So
Typically,
come on.
Matt, there you go.
We've looked at this for years.
I was going to make you sit up here as a Peter stand-in, but
Good morning, Council,
shirt.
Dressed like
Mr.
him.
Mayor.
sorry.
He's looking very good, Councilman Simmons.
Imperial Harbor, as Carl mentioned, is there are some issues there. There's some ownership issues. There are some concerns. As far as $100,000 and when you could do something, you're absolutely right. There are some permitting issues, but more importantly, with design and what you would actually choose to do to fix the problem. $100,000 may not be nearly enough really to, to make a lasting impact. You may need to consider more in outlying years. You may be able to get some engineering done, but to truly solve the problem there, I think you're looking at a more expensive undertaking.
So, in other words, to get a very good picture about, or a proposal on what you would actually have to do, we're not even there yet.
No, sir, we're
Okay,
not.
John.
Yeah, and I think what Matt is trying to communicate, without maybe being as blunt as I might be, I don't think $100,000 is going to pay for the initial engineering and design, much less the cure, for some of those issues that exist in Imperial Harbor. Now, we will obviously pursue this. We have to. There are water quality issues there, but I don't want to leave the council or the public with any false expectations about how quickly we'll be able to resolve those things and or who will be ultimately responsible. Because as we indicated, while some of the ownership issues are clouded, others are fairly clear. And in those, while the city may have some responsibility in terms of public street runoff, it's also clear that there are other entities which bear responsibility, don't know what the reaction is going to be if we present those options and alternatives to those entities. So we will pursue this. We'll try to get a better handle on the extent of the issues and the extent and possible costs of the cures, but it's not something that's going to be resolved, I don't think, right away.
Okay, could we do this? It's just a suggestion. Could we go ahead and leave this off there for now, but by next time we get together, you have a number put together that would allow us to at least do the research to where we could come to the place where we had a proposal so far as of what track that this council wanted to go on. In other words, we need enough money in there to make the decision anyway. I mean, right now, we don't even have a decision. Yeah.
And just again, for clarification purposes, I understand that we're not talking ponds in general, ponds protocol, we're talking Imperial Harbor.
I think that's be the best way to do it, because I don't think we need to take on ponds. I don't want to give anybody the impression
That's
that we're looking for more ponds to take care of.
Why I'm looking for the clarification. Thank you.
Mayor.
Is that okay with everybody for
Well,
now?
I'd like to keep it on here, not take it off. I'd like to, the pond maintenance, and I'd ask if it's not enough, we find later on, that council would consider, I know we got that $1 million out there, we're putting aside, but really, it's a health and safety issue for some of the elderly people out there. Our water from our public roads drains into these waterways around there, and we should treat that somehow. It's not currently being treated, and I think that's partially our responsibility. As far as the other entities that we've identified, those entities don't have any money.
Yeah.
They're nonprofits, so.
Good.
All
Carl.
right, Mr. Mayor, just for clarification, I think we're talking about a couple of different things here, okay?
Yes.
This $100,000 was just put in there to do some cleanup of those particular lakes or ponds or whatever it might be, in terms of clearing out debris, taking care of reeds, whatever the issue was of particular ponds, and in this case, lakes in Imperial Harbor, all right? This money clearly was not in here to go out and design a comprehensive solution to the water drainage issues in Imperial Harbor, because that's obviously a much, much bigger project than what this $100,000 would represent. And I just wanted to make that clear for the
Okay,
council.
so I'd like to get a recommendation for you. Are you recommending that this $100,000 be kept in the allocation in the future years in the capital improvement projects, but not in this current budget?
I am recommending this $100,000 stay in this current budget.
Stay in this current
Stay in this, well, again, not to get into the financing technicalities here, but the budget technicalities, this is a reservation of reserves right now at $100,000. If the council were to say, put it in the budget, it's going to come out of reserves and go into the budget. Right now, it's just kind of a savings account over here. You have to tell us if you want it spent or not. My recommendation is we have it in the budget this year, because outside of a comprehensive solution, we still may need to do some work in areas, whether it be this area or other areas that we are responsible for. I'm looking for funding for those issues.
Council, can we just go ahead and leave this as is for now? Would that be all right with you?
Absolutely.
Good, until we get some other information.
Thank
Okay?
you.
Is that all right?
Yep.
Good, good. FDOT pond on Arroyo. That says,
It says FDOT, doesn't it?
yes, it does.
Yeah, why should we be paying for it?
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
However, I guess the deal is here is that if they're not going to plant cypress trees there, they don't want them there, right? And it would have to take.
They don't
would
want to
have
remove
agree
the
to it.
reed, they don't want to remove the reeds either. They
That-
really don't want to take, they probably would give us the property if we would accept it.
Of
Not
course they
that
would.
I'm recommending that, but
Yeah.
just
So,
FYI.
make a nice park.
what's your recommendation on this? That we just kind of be hands off on it, or what, Carl?
Again, the money is there in case we need it. You don't have to necessarily, we could put it in, on hold in reserves for now if you want, and then let us go talk to FDOT. I'm just concerned about how those talks are going to go.
Well, I agree. I think you need to probably slide this into reserves, because, I mean, quite frankly, if we get to be able to do this, I think that's great. But DOT, quite frankly, will more than likely say, you want the pond? It's yours.
Yes.
Well, they have
Exactly.
said that. I've spoken to Johnny Limbaugh and Phil Flood about this, because I want to invite anyone within earshot, and especially our council members and staff, take a drive to Arroyo Road, where, one, we have an unfinished development. We have the Arroyo Pond, which is not being maintained. It looks horrible. We've got a new project that's going up that is taking away the sound buffer from the neighborhood. It's a nightmare. That corner looks horrible, okay? And I've talked to Johnny Limbaugh, and I've talked to Phil Flood. Johnny Limbaugh said, well, Phil Flood doesn't want us to take the reeds out for water treatment. And I talked to Phil Flood. He said, no, that's fine. Go ahead. I said, but Phil, would it be possible to put some cypress in there? Because the mayor knows that these are wonderful machines, the cypress trees. He said, that'd be great. So as far as I think we could get approval by the Water Management District, and yes, Johnny Limbaugh said, you want it cleaned up, then you take it. But that's not the promise that was made to the neighborhood when 41 was widened and that botanical garden was taken out. And yes, some people claim it wasn't a botanical garden, whatever. It was a wonderful variety of trees by Dr. Payne. It was taken out, the wildlife disappeared, we got this horrible looking pond, and nobody's maintaining it. And I think that if we want to be that quality city where things look great, then we take care of things like this, or we force them to. I have had no success with the Florida Department of Transportation. I've talked to the guy in Bartow when he's been at meetings at the RPC, and he's like, oh, we'll take care of it. No, you know? So for that neighborhood, this is a real issue. Things are not being maintained over there, and it's driving down property values, and they're upset. So
Okay, Carl, right now it doesn't say this, but the previous one, it does say that it has been allocated. Is this money allocated in the budget?
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
So you got to decide if you want to do anything with it, and if so, we can put it in reservation of reserves, allocation of reserves, or we can put it in the budget. But if you put it in the budget, it's coming from reserves anyway, so it's all the same.
Council, what's your pleasure?
I'd like to make it a priority. I'd like to get some answers one way or another and find out what's what, if FDOT is not going to step up, you know.
They're not.
What, I mean, it doesn't sound like it, so I think we need to address how then we can buffer it on the right-of-way between Arroyo and the fence line, something, because that fence is just awful looking.
yep.
So I'd like to just make sure this stays a priority.
Unless
for
we
that
take that
neighborhood.
pond over, I suspect they're going to keep that fence up. But, you know, with some cypress tree on the far end or something to block that building, or there's a little finger that comes out in the middle, maybe there.
So council, do you want to put $100,000 in the budget, or
Yes, sir.
50,000, or what do you want to do?
Yeah.
100,000 in the budget
Yeah.
to do
I
something?
don't know if you even need 100,000.
Oh.
I would say let's hold 100,000 and see what we can find out. And if we need to cut it down, we'll
Well,
cut
the
it down.
$100,000 is in reserves anyway, you want to put, okay.
Good.
Yeah.
To 100,000?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
God bless you.
okay,
And
yes.
I think that's a very good suggestion, put the 100,000 in, but I do think that, Carl, that since Martha's mentioned the South Florida Water Management District, she's mentioned FDOT, is it possible to bring the parties together in some form of a meeting in the future this year? Because I understand what you're saying from that a Royal Road. It looks like it doesn't look very well. Some of the things about the housing was because of the recession.
Yeah.
But the pond is another issue, and FDOT used that to build the road. They took out all the things that you mentioned. And I think we should really follow up on this, because it's another way to enhance the city in the sense that making things look like they're supposed to instead of a mess.
Thank you.
Yep, okay,
you.
good. And probably the thing to do is just to go ahead and plan on looking at that area and seeing what the best way for the city to handle it, whether it's through a interlocal agreement with them, or whether it's just us landscaping in the right-of-way.
Yeah, there's power
Any,
poles.
yeah,
Mhm.
anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, and so that is just that for that.
I need to indulge.
Yes, sir.
You'll understand when I preface this, why it's not on this list already. We needed to make contact with several people before I asked for this placeholder. I'm going to ask for a placeholder for $5,000, and I'm going to title it Wonder Gardens. We've spoken with the person who's currently contracting with the Piper family. His work is clearly a work of heart, and he's making a diligent effort to turn that into something that may not be viable. What I don't want to see is us missing a public-private partnership or a public opportunity to save that piece of real estate that clearly is unique for our grandkids. What I'd like to do is put that placeholder in and ask that the city staff pursue an accurate appraisal of that property so that we'll have at least an idea of what that property really is worth. If it can't be a botanical garden, and some of the professionals think that would be very difficult to do, but we might be able to find a university that's interested in creating a partnership with us on an environmental research center, or it becomes a city park. I would like to make sure that we have at least something on our minds that we can talk about in the future with that piece of property.
So, Councilman, what do you mean by accurate appraisal? You mean actually get an appraisal done, or appraisal so far as what the use might be, or what other options there may be so far as purchasing, leasing, that type of thing?
Well, we've talked about possibility of 2020 money.
Right.
I'd like for staff to be able to take a look and see what the options for purchase are, but I'd also like to make sure we have an appraisal that we believe is accurate in terms of what that piece of property is worth, so that we can at least deal with the Piper family on the basis we don't have right now.
Okay, Council, you okay with allocating $5,000 for an appraisal for the property?
Yeah, I don't know if we should conduct appraisal right now, but I think we should have it set in the budget to do it when the time is
That's all I'm
right.
asking.
Yes,
Good.
I would second that.
Okay, good. Yep. What was that, Peter? Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Sorry.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I apologize for not having it in, but we hadn't made all the right contacts
That's all right.
at that point.
That's all right.
Because I can't speak to him outside of a meeting, I know we were, Cullum Hasty brought in Trust for Public Lands, and they were very willing to work with
Well, I'm
us.
asking staff to pursue this diligently.
2020 won't do it, I don't think.
Well, we don't know that.
Okay, yeah, we have instructions to staff. We're okay with that.
Good, thank you.
Okay, good. Anything else from council before we carry on here? All right, let's see. Staff, where are we at here? You need to go to the comprehensive review and landscaping projects. You got all the information you
I
have
think
on
we're
the additional
about to,
items?
if the council is ready for it, we'll give you a presentation about the landscaping.
Okay.
While Matt is setting up for that, let me just give you a very broad view of what we'd like to try to be able to accomplish today. Obviously, we do have dollars set aside in this year's budget for landscaping. We have dollars set aside in the upcoming years for capital projects for landscaping, and we've tried to isolate that, as we pointed out in the budget already, so that it's not all lumped into one line item, but we've broken it down for you a little bit better. I also want to remind you that there is a project that is just about underway on Imperial that is being ready to go to actual construction based on direction from council previously about county core level, understanding we can always enhance that if necessary, but we don't need to redesign that at this point. Matt's got, I think, some very valuable information for you that he's going to be able to present, I think, in a very easily understandable way. And just in general terms, what we'd like to be able to get from council today is some direction on the type of enhancements you'd like to see, that is the level of enhancements, as compared to both what Collier County and what Lee County offers, and then also maybe some further direction on the locations that we should focus on. So, level of enhancement, locations for enhancement, in very broad sense.
Okay, council, looks like we have quite a bit left to do here on the agenda here. What's your pleasure? Do you want to work through lunch? It looks like we're going to be, if we work through, we'd be,
Take a quick break and come back.
you want to take a quick break? You want a half hour?
We talking about a lunch break?
A lunch break,
Look at all the employees, they look so hungry.
because they look so hungry. Never heard that before. What does hungry look like? It's like,
Yep, see,
they're like,
look, look at Chris back there.
okay, because it looks like we got quite a bit left here to do.
Well, I believe that the presentation on landscaping could be as long or as short as council wants it to be. I don't know if there are many issues beyond the landscaping that we would have left to deal with other than the adoption of the millage rate. So it's really up to you.
If the previous part of this meeting was any indication, we're going to be here for a little while longer, I would just think.
Probably
So
not.
let's go ahead and take a half-hour break, if is that okay?
Shall we call back Peter and get him off the line and then back on the line?
No, I think Peter should sit there the whole time
Yeah, not allowed to eat lunch.
on your,
Hang on the line, seriously.
yeah, have a sandwich, sit there, and let's see, Lisa will talk to you. You guys have lunch together.
Whoever's on a diet gets to talk to.
Okay, but Peter, I don't know how to tell you, but we'll figure that. Somebody will come and contact you and figure that out. But we will reconvene 12:30 sharp. Thank you,
Great.
everyone.
We're not sending him lunch?